Chapter 3. The day I heard the first glimmer of the idea, Jack walked into the lounge and stopped at a table where three teachers sat. He tapped a finger on a color photo on the front page of the Wichita Eagle, which lay open in front of them. "That is one hell of a PR stunt," he said. Two of the teachers grinned at him, one with condescension and one with smirking pity. The third took the bait and got a narrow look in her eyes. She looked up at Jack and announced primly, "The trouble with you liberals is you only know defeat. You're only happy with defeat. You wouldn't know victory if it slapped you in the face." "The trouble with you Republicans," said Jack, falsely sweet, "is that you believe a photo op is reality." A three-part chorus of hooting laughter followed him as he crossed the room to the coffee machine. "Oh, we know reality," said the prim one, an English teacher. "We live in reality." "You're the one out of touch with reality," added the second, a gym teacher, menopausal and fat, famous for her mustache. "Biggest victory this country has known in years," chimed in the third, a teacher of geometry who always wore a white shirt and black pants. "And all you want to do is denigrate." "Biggest victory?" asked Jack, putting down the coffee pot. "We just kicked one hell of an anthill, and you don't have a clue." "Humph!" sniffed the teacher of math, a form based completely in fact. "The man has got nuclear bombs pointed at us, and you don't want to do anything?" "He doesn't have nuclear bombs," said Jack, saying this as much to the ceiling as to them. "Oh, he's got them all right," insisted the gym lady. "Then let me ask you a simple question," said Jack, and stepped back to the table and lowered his face till it was even with the three teachers. "If he's got them, why didn't he use them?" This shut them up into an immediate and stunned perplexity. Their faces, which had been smug in certainty only a moment before, now turned unsure and sour. It seemed a trick question, an unwanted pop quiz, an intrusion into their security. "Saddam Hussein," continued Jack, "Mr. Evil, as we have been so well informed lately, gets invaded by the most powerful country in the world, and yet he didn't use his WMDs. Now, why do you suppose that is?" He circled their table now, as if he had them corralled, sipping his coffee. An uneasy pause drew out. The three teachers glanced at each other from the corner of their eyes, hoping one of them might have a good answer, but none of them did. "Because he didn't have any," said Jack, disgusted. "Oh, they're going to find him," insisted the English teacher. "That's right," added Mr. Math, going on to explain. "He just didn't have time to get them ready." "Didn't have time? You're a teacher, and you're this deficient in logic?" There was nasty sarcasm in his voice as he added, "What a sad day for education in America." Now he was circling them again, restless and energized, like a cat with three mice in a box. This was a Jack people had gotten tired of and tried not to provoke. This was a Jack who'd been called before the school board and told to pipe down on his opinion. Parents had complained. Certain teachers were reluctant to stay in the same room with him. "Everyone has known for months we were going. Then we were there, American armies, in Iraq, driving towards Baghdad. And Saddam Hussein didn't use his WMDs?" He let the question hang there for a moment, like the good teacher he was, before asking, "What was he waiting for? Until he found himself in a tight spot?" The three let out a collective and exasperated sigh, as if asked something too stupid to merit a reply. The geometry man turned to his companions and announced a defeatist. "What can you do with such a defeatist?" "Shoot him," muttered the gym teacher. They wanted to laugh, but were from Kansas and knew good manners, so settled for small grins. They also knew Jack, and were afraid, very much afraid it seemed to me as I sat across the room watching, that such a wisecrack might set off a volcanic response. There was a famous incident last year in this very room between Jack and the football coach. They had nearly come to blows, and would have if I and a few others had not gotten between them, pushing Jack into the hall. Both nearly lost their jobs, and Jack, not being a winning coach, came closer to losing his. It was serious enough that lawyers were involved for a couple of weeks. The people here knew and remembered this, so the moment hung there, electric. But Jack just sighed. His point now made, his anger had passed, and he seemed resigned, as if he had just explained an obvious point to a slow student for the umpteenth time. He raised his arms, palms up, as if asking heaven, "What else can I do?" "Shoot me?" he asked quietly. Then he spread his arms out like Jesus on the cross. "Dulce et decorum, est pro patria mori," he said. This drew quizzical stares from the three at the table. "I'll give you $1 if you can tell me what it means, and another $1 if you can tell me who said it." His voice was calm as he took another sip of coffee. "I know it's Latin," said the English teacher, "but you're just a damn show-off, and who cares what it means?" "Here we are in a place of learning, and you praise ignorance?" asked Jack, feigning amazement and expressing contempt. "I bet you're the only one in the room who knows its translation," said the gym teacher, "but I bet you looked it up 2 days ago." "I'm willing to bet my friend over there would know," said Jack, and pointed at me. "I'll put $1 on that," said the gym teacher. "Now wait a minute, Harriet," said the math man. "That's Teddy. You know how he is." All eyes came to me. Maybe if the math teacher hadn't thrown in that "you know how he is," I would have shrugged it off and let the spat cool down. It wasn't my intention to get drawn into a personal power struggle which could infect teachers every bit as much as students in any high school. It often seemed the whole world never grew beyond the juvenile condition which could be summed up in 4 little words: "I'm better than you," a belief that has started uncounted wars. This was also the teacher's lounge. Except when Jack stirred it up, it was usually a place to rest and regroup, a sanctuary where one could bitch and moan in congenial commiseration. But these three were not my favorites. It was also amazing how they had played right into Jack's hands. I had quoted this phrase to him only a few days before. He had liked it so much he had written it down, even taking the trouble to learn the Latin. "Sweet it is to die for one's country," I said. I could have let it rest there, but I was not a teacher for nothing. Horace wrote it. He was trying to kiss up the Emperor Augustus at the time. When he was a young man, Horace was in a battle, the civil war between Augustus and Mark Antony, and he hated being a soldier. But when he got old, he got sentimental. "He was just kissing the Emperor's ass so he could get a new villa," said Jack, waving a hand, sounding cheerful for the first time. "Oh, God, you too," said the English teacher. "This is a high school, not a college," sniffed the gym teacher with a hairy lip, who rose and dug in her purse. "Go on Jeopardy if you want to show off," said Mr. Math. "It's tragic you're so in love with your own ignorance," said Jack. "But maybe in your case, it just explains a great deal about you." The gym teacher shoved $1 into his hand, and Jack said, "Oh, it's all right. I believe in free education," and with a slightly formal bow, placed the $1 back into the woman's hands. She huffed her way out the door. The other 2 teachers scraped the chairs back from the table and left the room with an air of much displeasure. With a satisfied smile, Jack came over to my table. But his smile disappeared when he saw the same copy of that day's Wichita Eagle on my table as well. Jack twisted an index finger into the president's face, hard enough to make the front page of the newspaper spin. "Someday, someone is going to make that man pay attention." In the picture, George W. Bush was on the deck of the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln, surrounded by cheering sailors. Over his shoulder, a banner announced, "Mission accomplished." It was May 2003. At that moment, 65 American soldiers had died in Iraq. The man who had stage-managed this photo op, who would go on record as saying it was "the proudest day I ever knew as an American," was named Kenneth Bryan Cameron. He was better known by a nickname George W. Bush had given him, Kenny Boy.